All right, I think it's recording now. So this is my influential director presentation. I'm doing mine on Jose Luis Valenzuela, and that's a picture of him right over here. So here's a small introduction of Jose Luis Valenzuela. He's from Sinaloa, Mexico. He went to San Jose State for his undergrad and UCLA for graduate school. He was a part of El Teatro de la Esperanza, um, which is like another like theater company that started at UCSB by Jorge Huerta. He started it with students that attended Santa Barbara University. He's also married to famous Chicana playwright Evelina Fernandez. Fun fact about Evelina Fernandez is that she played Della in the original production of Zoot Suit. So that's a little interesting there too. And he was the head of the UCLA MFA directing program for 25 years. He's currently retired now. So some significance. Currently, Valenzuela is the artistic director for the Latino Theater Company. He created the Latino Theater Company to bring more representation of Latinx, Chicanx stories to the stage. He makes theater accessible for working class audience by providing workshops, scholarships, affordable prices to go watch performances. Here's a picture of one of his other performances, Guadalupe, where they actually like did it in a church, and you can see like with the lights and stuff how it just brings like this very kind of like religious feeling. He uses theater as a platform for activism, educating audiences about issues that affect the Latinx community. So that's one thing that makes him very significant, is that as like a person of color, he brings representation to theater about these issues that affect people within the community. So the play that, or the production that I'll be talking about is La Víctima, and this specific production is the 2019 production. It's one of his most recent works, and I've had the privilege to go watch it for free. It was one of his most, uh, it's a play that he does every so often, but this production was very special because it went on tour around LA County, and it was done with students who were at the UCLA theater program and ELAC theater program. La Víctima follows a family from 1930s to 1970s, and the story focuses on the lives of a mother and her son after they get separated at the border. So the mother, she's trying to go back to Mexico on a train, but then the son falls asleep, so he is left behind. So the story really kicks off when we see how their lives are shifted by the countries they both live in. So we see like the son, he becomes an ice worker, and then the mother, she has two other children with her husband that lives there. And after the husband dies, the daughter and the son and the mother, they move back to Mexico, not to Mexico, to the United States. Most of the dialogue in this play is in Spanish, but also some was in English, which is something that I found very interesting because it was the first play that I've ever seen that was predominantly in Spanish. So the style of the show was very Brecht, meaning that the actors dressed themselves in their costumes in front of the audiences, and the actors also doubled as other characters for choruses, or the chorus, and they played instruments along as well. There was no actual set, but actors would use dress props to change the scene. The show was bare bones, but at the same time, it was not. What I mean by that is there was not uh, much use of like lighting design or like set design, but there was like costuming, like makeup design. But because of the way how the direction was to the show, the actors would use like a chair or a table, and it changed the complete scenery of the play. There's just one scene where it's taking place in a truck, and they just have put two chairs on top of the table, and then the mother, she's like hiding in the truck or underneath the truck because she's trying to cross the border. And even though uh, it's like uh it's not very like heavy like design focused. The tension is still there in that scene because as like they're crossing the border, they get stopped by a border patrol officer, and he thinks that there's something suspicious going in that car. It just goes to show how you don't need to have like this high budget theater or like these big expensive lights or like set pieces to put on a good show. uh Another thing about it is how uh all the actors really had an important role into this into the play. Um, I think also the fact that how it was predominantly in Spanish also shows to whom the directed audience was, who whom the show it was for, if that makes sense. Like sometimes in media, specifically like television or film, we will watch shows about people and like for example they take place in Mexico, but they're speaking English. But that wasn't the case in this show. It was like, oh, these are Mexicans and they speak Spanish, that is their language. Um, let's see. Here's some also production photos of like the set. So this is what they had in the backdrop, and as you can see, like they're just like pictures from protest about immigrant rights. And they would, like I mentioned earlier, they did this show multiple places. This is this one place, I don't know exactly where this is at, I think somewhere in LA. Um, where they just do the show for free and anyone can come watch. I just think that's incredible. And why his work is so important, because he does like this, he creates these shows, these plays that are so phenomenally well put together. The transitions in every scene of La Víctima was clean, it was top. People who didn't even know who didn't even know Spanish understood what was going on throughout the play. Obviously, like they couldn't translate everything word for word, but because of how the actions were clean, they were so well sculpted, anyone could have understood it. Um, so in the Daily Bruin, the Latino theater company, uh, this is just a uh, what's it called? News report, or not news report, um, whatever it's called, about La Víctima. So my connection to this director. So obviously, like I'm a Latino or Chicano, and he's also Latino Chicano, and he's a director, and I aspire to be a director professionally. And one of the things I always try to do with the work that I do as a director is try to make sure that it's speaking towards um, the people who I think theater people the people who I think can benefit greatly from theater. Um, uh, as some of you may know, I created this one program that assists at-risk youth for students in my community. I helped out foster youth, disabled youth, youth who are uh, who are who used to be in a part of like juvie, or basically at-risk youth in general, and doing theater with them and then teaching them how to understand characters gives them the ability to be more have more sympathy. They're like understanding these people from a different perspective while not like judging them completely. And then just as he's someone who's so highly recognized within the theater world in general, like Jose Luis Valenzuela, to still be for his community and to be still grassroots and to not have like this uh he doesn't think highly of himself. He's very humble with the work that he does. And that's something that I aspire to be, to create professional work, but at the same time to also like be able to give back to my community and to make sure that they're benefiting from it, because there's a lot of benefits from students who when they do theater, but there's no funding for it. And that's one of the things I really aspire to be like him. Thank you.